QAnon, my food time, fold it up and smoke it. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for.
It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically, it's
we got this.
So,
revolution.
Winner's frosty hand. Muhammad is the famed name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors' jealousy.
truth, because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
Shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say. Grand risings, grand risings, grand risings, and welcome back to another season of the Urban Conservative with Chaz. We're excited to have you this morning. Join us on this journey of thoughtful discourse and community engagement. The Urban Conservative is proudly sponsored by the Leon Block Network, an organization committed to promoting transparency, truth, and accountability in our media landscape. Here at the Urban Conservative, our mission remains steadfast: to bring you the latest news directly from the streets, addressing critical topics such as gun violence, crime, politics, and perhaps most importantly, exploring solutions to the profound challenges our communities face. As we embark on this third season, the focus is clear. It's time to actively contribute to the transformation of our communities for the better. How can we achieve this? The answer lies in a multifaceted approach that starts with reconnecting with our core family values. Strengthening our sense of community is paramount, fostering bonds that transcend the barriers that often divide us. Moreover, it involves embracing our foundational roots, recognizing the historical and cultural threads that weave through the fabric of our society today. In this season, we're calling for more than words. We seek action. It's a plea to move beyond mere rhetoric and engage in tangible, impactful initiatives that contribute to positive change. The time for empty words has passed. Now more than ever, we need to put our convictions into action. Together, united by a common purpose, we can make a substantial and lasting difference in the well-being of our communities. So join us on this journey as we explore not only the challenges, but also the opportunities for growth and progress. Together, let's turn our shared vision for stronger, safer, and more connected communities into a reality. Thank you for being a part of the Urban Conservative with Chaz, a platform dedicated to fostering change and making a positive impact on the world around us. Shut up and help. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This morning, I want to talk about, if people don't realize what today is a big day, not only for, the civil rights movement, but also our presidential election. Today is, they are caucusing in Iowa for the Republican president. And we're going to get into that in the third segment of the show today. But first, I want to get into Martin Luther King Day. Today, we'll explore MLK's profound legacy connected with the ongoing Republican Caucus in Iowa. But first, let's reflect on the importance of civic engagement. MLK's legacy. Martin Luther King Jr., a civil rights giant, left an indelible mark on history. His dedication to equality and justice resonates with conservative values. Let's delve into some powerful quotes aligning with conservative principles inspiring us. And it's not even so much about being conservative. I don't think, the liberals and the Democrats so like to use MLK, his I have a dream, and so many other things that he discussed or, that he talked about, but they don't give us the raw facts about Martin Luther King. And what I mean about facts, I'm not talking about the man's, personal life. That's not what I want to discuss today. I don't want to blemish Dr. King's name because I wasn't born during that time and I wasn't around. There is some things in history that it has been brought up just not by FBI, but others that were around that era and around that time. And one thing that I do want to really resonate today is that I do believe that Martin Luther King is a big part of why we're able to do the things that we're able to do as Black Americans. But there is some, with everything, there's pros, there's positives, and there's negatives to it, right? And I believe today, if Martin Luther King was alive, I do honestly believe that this is not the vision that his I have a dream would play out. I think they've taken that I have a dream and that equality and forgot about Black people. They forgot about the poor people. They forgot about loving thy neighbor, looking out for thy neighbor. We got rid of wanting to take care of each other and looking out for each other and more depending on our government. And for me, I've always seen that as an issue. And it's because so much has been taken out of context, or it's been construed to fit certain narratives, to fit certain agendas. And I wanted to, bring this up as I'm, talking about, MLK and talking about today, is that Black activism is often critiqued for being incorporated into a broader range of unrelated social causes, evolving into a feel-good movement that may lack tangible outcomes. This echoes a historical criticism of Dr. Martin Luther King, suggesting a perception of extensive dialogue without corresponding actions. Um, and now when we sit here and we talk about that, because honestly, I think about it, and especially since George Floyd, and I look at all the things that have gone on, because we haven't gotten anything significant done other than a lot of people saying that they feel good. You know what I'm saying? Because and honestly, I can really resonate with that because of the fact of, I see a lot of people unifying on, Yemen and Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine. you know. And then when I looked at the, you know, police brutality and, you know, all the things that we were out here fighting for in 2020, and I don't see that same energy. You know, I see more people out for things that are going on, and you know, it seems to be, and I get it, it's a political year, it's a presidential, it's a, you know, US Senate, US House election year. So of course there's going to be tons of things that are up for play. Um, but what matters to us most, you know, a lot of people, I feel like, aren't going to vote for Biden because of the way that he sees what's going on between Israel and Palestine. And now for the simple fact that US is bombing Yemen. Um, and yet we talk about, when you talk about those things, you're called anti-Semitic, or you're called this, you're called that. But at the end of the day, how can you not call out these things as being wrong? Because at the end of the day, they do the same things in our own communities. They do the same things in our own communities. The only difference is that they do it differently. You know, they don't drop bombs on us. What they do is incarcerate us. They make our deaths seem like suicides. They lynch us. They silence us. Over there, they have to do deal. The same people that I consider revolutionaries, like John Tell, you know, other people. There's people over there that are going through the same thing. The only difference is they don't have to deal with. The only thing I really got to deal with is social media warriors, right? They have to deal with real bombs. They they have to deal with being asleep in the middle of the night and being slaughtered, or their whole community being bombed by bullies, all because of political agendas. The same way it's here. It's all about agendas. Only difference is I don't got to worry about a bomb. I mean, they tried that, but I mean that ain't, which is different because they used a firebomb on me, and they're using actually like military, you know, shit that'll blow up a whole city. That's what Nelson Mandela. That's what Gandhi. That's what some of the most important leaders, revolutionaries, we've had to deal with. Even in America, Fred Hampton, the MOVE movement, they dropped a whole bomb to scare that community from fighting. And I look over the years, and I see why Black people are scared to fight. I see why we're scared. Because our ancestors that did fight, look where it got them. Look where it got them. Look where it got them is where I think to myself very, very often. You know, I think about, you know, what will speaking the truth get you? Because it doesn't win you awards. It doesn't win you recognition. What you go through is turmoil, right? Because when Malcolm was going along with the program, he was one of the most loved men in America by white people. But the minute that he started to realize that he was being used and started to speak differently, what happened? We all know what happened. So I'm going to play something, and I want you guys to listen. This is about Malcolm. Not Malcolm Martin, my bad. And this is really, really, really educational. And I know John Tell I'm going to here in a minute.
1968, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was shot to death on a hotel balcony in Memphis, Tennessee. We begin our coverage with a look back at Dr. King's legacy and why 50 years later, it's retraced the steps of Dr. Martin this week on U.S. Highway 61. It was here in Memphis the civil rights leader delivered his 1968 mountaintop speech.
And I've seen not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we people will get to the promised land.
He arrived in Memphis in early April that year for senators planning what was to be a massive presence in the nation's capital, the so-called Poor People's Campaign. But he was assassinated by James Earl Ray on April 4th. What followed instead was a reckoning. The riots after the King assassination, also known as the Holy Week Uprising, represented the greatest wave of social unrest the United States had experienced since the Civil War.
There is a legitimate gripe.
In the years preceding his death, the Baptist minister used his well-known tactics of nonviolence and civil disobedience. King led the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott, and in 1962, as the first president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, launched an unsuccessful campaign against segregation in Albany, Georgia. He helped organize the nonviolent 1963 protests in Birmingham, Alabama.
We must make the pledge that we shall all...
Then came the 1963 March on Washington, where he delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
In 1965, he helped to organize the Selma to Montgomery marches and took the movement to Chicago to work on segregated housing. In his final years, he expanded his focus to include opposition to poverty and the Vietnam War.
I accept this award.
As this happened, King's popularity began to wane after he received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. He began to lose momentum as he moved attention from civil rights in the South to tackling segregation and poverty in the North. A 1966 Gallup poll found nearly 7 in 10 Americans viewed King unfavorably. Today, people honored King's sacrifice at the memorial dedicated to him in Washington, hoping to connect his message to today's struggles. Around the country, there are all sorts of reminders of his work, and hundreds of streets in the U.S. have been renamed in his honor.
It came as a joyous day.
And children everywhere read and enact King's I Have a Dream speech every MLK Day, a federal holiday by a vote of Congress and signed into law by President Ronald Reagan in 1983.
Now is the time to make real promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice.
But it's the deeds, the actual living out of his legacy, that 9-year-old Yolanda King addressed at the recent March for Our Lives gun control rally in Washington. The granddaughter of Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King had a call to action of her own.
My grandfather had a dream that his 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream that enough is enough. And that this should be a gun-free world, period.
Yet, King's dreams are still largely unfulfilled. According to a new Associated Press poll, just over half of all Americans, including 79% of blacks and 44% of whites, said African Americans continue to face disadvantages to getting ahead. This week's event were intended to try to bear witness to the words of Martin Luther King and maybe help fulfill more of his vision. King himself laid out in a 1968 sermon, which came to be known as the drum major instinct, how he would like to be remembered. He spoke then at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta.
Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. I was a drum major for righteousness. And all of the other shallow things will not matter. I won't have any money to leave behind. I won't have the fire.
So what we just heard was Martin, in his own words, and we see that, you know, Malcolm realized that, you know, mere words weren't going to be enough. And I think that's what really shifted away, because of the fact that, you know, I want people to realize too, is like when you look at these Democrats and are even Republicans right now, right, of how they're using, especially when it comes to Martin Luther King, because it's supposed to be a federal holiday. So there's no banks open. There's no mail today. But schools, there's still school districts that are going to school. If it wasn't for the threat to the local school here in the area that I live in, they would be at school today. But because there was a threat made over social media by some kid, they canceled school today. So it's, you know what I mean? Like, how can it be you're honoring somebody, but not, you know, everybody is getting the benefits? And I'm not saying that school, whatever, you know what I'm saying, work, whatever. But to me, honestly, they honor MLK, and I wonder for what, because we have not fulfilled his dream. We haven't fulfilled the Civil Rights Act. And I wonder why. I wonder why we haven't, you know, after so many years, why haven't we seen that dream? Why haven't we seen that vision? And I think it's because it's America, our politics, our way of life is more about, you know, keeping up with the Joneses instead of what's wrong with my neighbor? How can I help my neighbor? We've gotten so selfish instead of being selfless. And I just, you know, there's a lot of things. Yeah, especially, and thank you for bringing that up, Ruth, because, you know, once he became anti-war, and Malcolm was against war too, because what people don't understand is it's about self-defense. It's about the rights to protect yourself, which Hamas and Houthi are doing. They're defending themselves. So I want people to realize that is when you have to. That's why I consider Israel and America bullies, is because they're agitators. They're so quick to start something and they want to play victim. And that's what we deal with, because if you look at even with South Africa and Israel, which nobody wants to talk about, and how they just went to court and the UN and is found them guilty of genocide. But nobody wants to talk about that because America agrees with genocide, ethnic cleansing, and as they don't care about speaking out on those type of things because that brings in money. Because if they can conquer that, just like what they did with the Native Americans when they took over America, or just for the simple fact of the reason why there was the American Revolution, why there was the Boston Tea Party, taxation. Same thing of why the Civil War. It was multifaceted, and when what they want, just like what's crazy is people always talk about why do we need another revolution? A revolution is the only way anything ever gets done. What do you mean? If you're saying, this is the thing about it is, right? And I'm not agreeing with the way that people do things, right? This is nothing to do with that, but I want people to know that without peaceful discourse, peaceful disruption, we've never gotten anywhere. You have to look at it. How did America become America? The American Revolution. How did we get free from Britain? How did we get free from the British? How did we get free from the Redcoats? Or do people forget that story? Do they forget about the Boston Tea Party? Do they forget about those things of how America became America? Right? Because I'll tell you right now, first of all, it was about taxation, one reason. But another major reason is because British got rid of slavery. America didn't want to, because if America would have had to, if they would have got rid of slavery, prohibited it like the British did, they would the whites would have had to do all the work. America wouldn't have been built the way that it was built. If we go back in time, and I know I'm getting way off MLK, but I'm just saying, if you go back in time and you look up the history facts, that's what I want to talk about, is history. Because they don't tell us about the real MLK. He never agreed with war. He was against the Vietnam War the same way that Malcolm X was, right? The same way that people today who get called anti-Semitic, we're against war. This is about right versus wrong, right? And here's the thing: the people that are out here saying that Hamas is wrong are the same people that were saying BLM was wrong in 2020. The same people that were saying the Black Panthers were wrong in the 1960s, right? But they won't call out the KKK. They won't call out bad police. But they'll call out the other people because it fits their narrative. Come on, you guys gotta wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, people. Don't stop saying you're woke and you're not. You might be woke, but you're not awake. You're not. You might be woke, but you're not awake. Because, yeah, that's crazy. So, as we get into this second half of the Urban Conservative, I just want to take a real quick break. So I'm going to play a little minute promo for contact, how you can contact us. If you would like to be a guest on the show, if you would like to have any stories, or if you would like to donate, here you go right here. Now, shifting gears, let's dive into the Republican Caucus in Iowa. I want people to remember that, first of all, your voice matters, and we're encouraging you to participate in our democracy. I wanted to use the word democratic, but then I don't want people to be like thinking, oh, he's telling people to go vote Democrat. No, that's not. I'm telling you to get involved, right? Get involved, because in Minnesota, you can caucus here if you're a felon, because your voice shapes our future. Because if you're silent, how can you complain if you're being silent, right? If you're not standing up to injustice, if you're not standing up to the things that are being done wrong in your communities, right? How can you say anything? And it's more than just coming onto social media, right? It's more than, because that's what Martin was talking about. That's what Malcolm was talking about. We're not getting anywhere because we're better with that feel good shit, right? We're better with that, oh, I feel good. I got out here and marched. We got out here and we shut down the highway. We're out here yelling at empty buildings. Yelling at empty buildings, but yet we don't get nothing done, right? Because yesterday we were saying George Floyd. Today we're saying Dante Wright. Who we gonna say tomorrow, right? So Jontel asks, what do you say to the folks that don't care about being involved and don't want to be involved? It's, to me, I deal with that on a daily basis, and it does bug me, because it's like, how can people not care about what's going on around them? How can you not care what's happening? Because at the end of the day, at some point, it's going to affect you in some form or fashion. It is going to affect you, right? Because I sit here and I look at our political climate right now, right? Today you got caucusing in Iowa, but then you have such a big, on Twitter right now, it's about make America red again, and, niggas for Trump. And I sit here and I look at it like, yo, how the hell is that going to get us anywhere? Why aren't you guys out trying to put that same enthusiasm, that same dedication, that same following, right, at a local level? Because that's where we're going to get things done. It doesn't matter who the fuck president is. We're going to get things done on a local level. A local. Let me spell that out for you. Local. Local. So, yeah, man, that shit crazy though, because it's, everybody wants to talk about Biden. They want to talk about Trump, but I don't see anybody talking about any local candidates, because that's where the world work gets done. If you're tired of the migrants, right, coming into your areas and taking up your taxpayer dollars, there ain't nothing that the presidential is going to be able to do for you, because they still need the House. They still need the Senate. That's only executive. We need legislative, right? Because there's a difference. Executive is right then and there. Legislative is for generations, for the future. We need shit that is going to matter to, because this is a marathon, right? Because we're supposed to evolve and not take steps forward while we're taking steps backwards. Because that's literally what we're doing with legislation. We've done it with the EOE. We've done it with affirmative action. Everything that we've literally our ancestors, some of our ancestors fought for, DEI, they're throwing right back in our faces. And yet, for what? These are the things that, you know, King was talking about being standing on it. Well, I don't know if he was, maybe right before he died, he was talking about the self-sufficiency, standing on your own. You know what I'm saying? Because Plymouth Rock didn't land on us. We landed on Plymouth Rock. And I know that's not Martin. For real, anytime in history, how have we ever gotten out of our predicaments? We picked ourselves up by the bootstraps. There ain't nobody else in America that has a story like us. Nobody. Not the Native Americans, not Irish Americans, not Italian Americans, Hispanic Americans. Don't nobody got a story like a Black American. How we can literally go back in history and with slavery, Jim Crow, lynchings, shit, even today's time, where are we at? Wealth-wise, the gap, educational, job, home ownership. We at the fucking bottom. People that come from other countries. People that come from other countries sit better than we do in America on the totem pole. And yet we arguing on Twitter about Trump and Biden, but don't nobody know who their local official is. Tell me who your local official is. I know who mine are. That's what's crazy. People don't even know on a local level, but want to talk about on an executive level. How about you know your local level first? Because you can't say you're involved and be boots on the ground if you don't know your local level. Because how the fuck you boots on the ground and you don't know who's around your community? Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to me. You know, I got, you know what? I'm going to show y'all because y'all ain't going to believe me. But I got a message. I woke up to a message this morning on Twitter. And I don't think people really know how involved with shit I really be, because our people don't know their background, or they don't do their background on me. They just think that, oh, he don't really be knowing shit. So I just want people to see, because it kind of was like, damn, you know, where have these people been? Are they plants? Are they, because I really thought some of these people were educated, but now I'm really starting to see I'm not, I don't really know. So I got sent this by the disruptor. So first, this picture says, vote because we can't, right? And I'm like, okay, I've seen that before. But he's like, look at what these Democrats are using to scare Black voters. It's pathetic, shameful, disgusting, disgraceful, demented, sociopathic, and psychotic, right? So I said, good morning, brother. The Democrats used this in 2020 as well to scare Black people to vote blue. It worked very well in Minneapolis. Big time as well. As using the Black church, can't leave them out at all. The only pastor I've seen calling it out was a pastor from Chicago, Corey Brooks. I don't believe he's on Twitter, but I met him when the Republicans brought him out. He's got quite the story. You should ask Mark about him. He would be a great resource for Boots on the Ground, or a group called ECCSC, led by Tyrone Muhammad. I'm sure he hasn't seen it yet, but I'm sure he will see it. But I really wanted to, because it's crazy. It's like, dude, they're not doing anything different. It's the same playbook. They're gonna say, oh, we can't vote. They're gonna use George Floyd. They're gonna use Breonna Taylor. They're gonna use Ahmaud Arbery. They're gonna use other certain names to fearmonger, because that's what they've done in history. That's what history has told us. They always want to give us the horrifics, right, to scare us. It's called fear mongering. Because if the same picture that I just showed you, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, all those names that were on there, they would have actually made change for them instead of us having the same or similar situations that they went through. So, oh yeah, that's what people don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about people co-opting movements and right. Definitely. Oh, I definitely agree. And that's what's crazy. Nobody wants to talk about that. But then when we talk about reparations, they want us to be quiet. You tell me why Black Americans don't deserve reparations. When every time that anything has happened to us over time, all we've had to do is to boot up, is to strap up our boots. That's it. Strap up our boots. That's it. We've never had equality, equity, none of that. We've never had equality or equity. We've always had to pick ourselves up and dust our shoulders off. It's always been like that. And if it was any help, it was always took away. Or there was ways around it where they would be able to take it away from us. Like people, oh, well, you guys had the Homestead Act. Okay, but did you read the Homestead Act? Because if you didn't have the resources to keep up that land or to be able to make that land prosper, which again, Black Americans didn't, freedmen, yeah, it got took. Well, then they want to bring up the Freedmen's Bureau. Or they want to bring up the 40 acres and a mule. Okay, how about the Compensation Act? Because that replaced 40 acres and a mule. And instead of giving slaves, freed slaves, enslaved people land and opportunity, it gave it to the slave owner. So don't sit there and tell me that, and I'm not blaming anybody that is today, that is alive today, because all of these things has happened over time. But for people to not call it out and try to change it is exactly what's wrong. That's what's wrong with the Barack Obamas. That's what's wrong with these career politicians, the Joe Bidens, the Cedric Frazier's, the Amy Klobuchar's, the Keith Ellisons, the Bobby Joe Champions. It's about career politics and it has nothing to do about our communities anymore at this point. Because all they care about is corporations and property. They don't care about the people. All right. I want people to read this. It's all by design. It's all by design. Because it first stopped the government and the mob running drugs, porn, weapons, the music industry. Look who's in charge of Reconstruction, the same groups. And people don't want to call it out because when you call it out, they want to call you crazy. They want to say you got mental health issues or you're a hater. Or you're all of the whatever. And it's, how can the truth ever be anything other than the truth? It's because people don't have the same, we don't fight for integrity and values anymore. We fight for who's the most popular, because when Cat Williams was talking about the dress, about, see, people took that in a different context. I took it as your integrity, because you're selling yourself out. If you're not standing, that's what's wrong with a lot of these nonprofits. That's what's wrong with a lot of these so-called activists, right? Because they start nonprofits. That's why I'm gonna talk about BLM, NAACP, the Black Church, because they take that money. They don't read the fine print, right? Because when you take that money, you can't just be going out here saying what you want to say, because they'll take that shit away, right? That's why none of our big leaders come out and do the things that they need to do, because of the simple fact of they don't sign that paper. They don't sign that paper. They didn't sign that paper. They done signed that paper. So that's why we don't really have leaders, because they're bought and paid for. They're bought and paid for. That's why we don't get no real change. That's why we continually keep on saying names. And I know I'm way off the Republican Caucus, and I apologize for that. But I want people to see it, because it doesn't matter who is president. What matters is at the local level. That's where we make change. That's where we make change, the local level. It doesn't matter about who the president is, because that isn't going to stop the gun violence in your community. That ain't going to stop you from getting robbed at the ATM. That ain't going to stop you from getting carjacked. That ain't even going to stop the scamming in our communities from these janky-ass nonprofits or these janky-ass churches. Right? That's what's crazy. Because we got them all talking about Trump, DeSantis, Vivek, whatever the hell his name is, Vivek, Nikki Haley. Just all this sit there. Yeah, they definitely are both owned. Right. Talk about it, Rob. Robert says GOP and Dems are both owned. It's selection, not election. Start changing the community. The government needs us, not the other way around. Very, very good point. But yet, we vote because of the simple fact of we think we need that handout, that we need that Section 8, that we need that food stamps, all to sit there and say that we're lazy. We just want things handed to us. You know, but yet they'll give it to these migrants. That's what's crazy to me, is how everybody just being silent on that. And I didn't even realize it too, just this past week, of the Office of New Americans. You know, I'm not going to go as far as some of these people and be like, oh, they're illegal immigrants and you know, that, but damn, you guys are going above and beyond for them. I will say that you are going above and beyond for migrants. The housing that they're building, the monthly payments that they're giving them, the free rent, the plane tickets, the bus tickets. We literally got people out homeless in tents that are actual Americans, while people that are coming over here seeking refuge, whatever, better opportunity. Not everybody probably has them intentions. Probably some of them really hate us and want to do damage, which is probably a small percentage. But they're getting opportunities, and they're writing legislation to get Medicare, to get health insurance, for them to be able to vote, driver's license. Like, damn, how y'all coming over here and getting all of that? And I sit here and told that's a privilege. So how are they having the same rights and they're here? And I'm going to say it, because motherfuckers can think whatever way they want to. They can call me whatever, but illegally, because they are getting court dates. They are, even though it might not be for 6-7 years from now, they are getting court papers to go to court because they are here illegally. So, right or wrong, whatever y'all may see it, wrong is wrong. They're not, and I understand why some people are feeling the way that they're feeling, because of the fight that they had to do to get here. They weren't just able to cross the border and get the things that they're getting. They've had to fight for it, nail and tooth. So I understand how some of them feel. And I know people gonna be like, damn, this nigga wild. Well, call it what it is. Doesn't say that I dislike them. I'm just saying, can we focus on us? I get it, the whole thing about protesting, because I'll tell you right now, it's sad as hell. It's sick as hell what's going on in Gaza. It's sick as hell what's going on in Yemen. And for collective punishment to just be thrown around like it's like that's what we're okay with is really fucked up, because it seems like America is really okay with collective punishment. Instead of and using proxies and propaganda to get people to vibe with y'all with some bullshit is really fucked up. And that's all. I don't even, because it just makes me sick, man. It makes me sick because when you literally to see the things, the comments, and this is, I'm speaking to Republicans about this. The comments that I've seen, the way that people are talking about, you know, Hamas and do you know what? I'm just gonna take that back. How they're talking about Palestinians and Yemens and people that are Muslim backgrounds. Dang, you all right? Crazy ass cat sneezing like a motherfucker. Damn. But the way that they see them, the way that the comments that are made, y'all some really hateful ass people, and you really need to go pick up a book. You need to go read, because y'all foul as hell. Super foul with some of the shit y'all be saying, man. That you want to call hateful, that is a bunch of uneducated responses, because you guys are acting off emotions and not true history, not facts. I also want to say that because I'll tell you right now, when I go into these Twitter spaces and the minute politics is brought up, boy, oh boy, do people get in their feelings. I ain't heard so many black men call each other bitches. I thought prison was bad. Twitter ain't got shit. Prison ain't got shit on Twitter spaces, because these niggas be comfortable as hell calling each other bitches. The disrespect is real. The truth might be the focus this year, but I see disrespect is at an all-time high. Disrespect is at an all-time high, and it really shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. So it's sad that we have to deal with the things that we're doing. So I hope everybody enjoys their MLK Day. I don't even know what's going on today. I gotta work. You know, capitalism calls. So damn, cats are really trying to get me today. But I just want people to today think about MLK. Think about I have a dream. Think about what you can do action-wise, not word-wise, actionable things that you can do to make change in your community. Because, you know, I want people to think about while we're going through this political year, is that Jackson, Mississippi still does not have running water. They don't have drinkable water. Also to think about that there was 215 bodies found in Jackson, Mississippi. I want people to think about the names that we've said so far this year: James Cooper, Nani Falason. I want people to think about, what can you do to help the Palestinians? What can you do to help the Yemens? What can you do to help your own backyard? Right? How can we stop seeing all these crying mothers on their boob tube on our phones, right? How can we stop seeing the horrific images, right? When are we going to have that peaceful discourse so we can stop seeing the horror, the brutality, the blood, the tears in our community? Oh, yeah, I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be, Robert. You ain't never lied. That's the crazy part. And I'm not going to go as far as to say they're replacing us, because that's what a lot of people will say is, oh, they trying to replace y'all. Well, I say it go like this, man. Let them go, because the things that y'all want them to do, and the reason why, and this people are like, damn, he racist. It's not. They have a really good work ethic. Americans are lazy ass people because the policies, and we've been allowed to be lazy, right? We've been allowed because of things of WIC, of leave no child behind, because kids don't even work to get A's and B's anymore. This shit's just handed to them. High school diplomas are just handed out, and niggas can barely read past 3rd grade. Can't even know what 10 times 10 is, but got a high school diploma. So maybe it is kind of being replaced. But I'll say it like this. Americans are lazy, where you have other countries have ethics. They have values that they bring with them. But here in America, it's okay with being lazy. It's okay with being floozy. It's okay being whatever. But yet, because they know the value of $1, shit's not just handed to them. If you want to get far in life, you got to work for it. But that's not America. That's not how we're shown, because there is people, you can put on that dress and be famous. There's shortcuts. Nobody knows the long route. So I just wanted people to think about that today as they talking about MLK, and because there's going to be a lot of disrespectful comments made. There's going to be a lot of narratives. There's going to be a lot of propaganda. I just want to just let people know that MLK fought for the embetterment and the empowerment of everybody. And he just wanted everybody to get along. So with that being said, it's been a great show today. Thank you for the interactions. Jontel, Ruth, Robert, win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well. Y'all have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow, 9 o'clock Central. Be there, be square.
Every day, fighting for my life. Every day, fighting for my life. Fighting for my life. Grew from the seed you thought was rot. I think not. Fire bred desire to rise above denial, to rise from former ashes to face new trial or triumph.